Hello, 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 ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for hitting that play button for another episode of the Hetty Coleman podcast, where I have go-in conversations with fabulous people that I believe that you can learn from, be inspired by, and connect with them. And so today I get this great opportunity to have this conversation with Jessica Thionnett. And Jessica's building this fabulous community around the Arbonne brand. She just has this great passion to get people in a place to where they have freedom in their lives. They can get out there and do things that they love to do without having any real worries in their lives, but then also selling product that she deeply believes in that can help people with their health and with beauty products and things of that nature. So I'm grateful that I got her to come to my town, Guthrie, America, to sit down with me in the Hetty Coleman studio space, if that's what we're going to call it, but for the Hetty Coleman podcast. Where I just, again, sit down with people and I just have what I call go-in conversations. And so I think that you're going to get a lot out of this. I encourage you to listen through the end. We talk about building community. We talk about our favorite books. She gives this, oh my goodness, she gives this story of where she had this real tragedy occur in her family's life. And so you don't want to miss that. And she just talks about transitions from going from a career to doing her own thing with the Arbonne brand. So you don't want to miss it. It's going to be good. So thank you again. I just want to encourage you to subscribe to whichever podcast app that you're listening to, Apple, Google, whatever. Or if you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe, leave comments, give a shout out to the people that I'm having conversations with. And, let me think. Have I already said how awesome the Hetty Coleman podcast meetup was? Oh, my goodness. It was so good. And again, I can't wait to share with you my go-in conversation with Phil Nichols in front of my first ever live audience. It was so good, and I can't wait to do another one. So, yeah. Anyway, it's going to be exciting. It's going to be good. So, let's jump into this. Yeah! Hello, Jessica. How are you doing today?
I am good. Hetty, how are you?
I am doing good. I am so glad you made the trip down to Guthrie, America, so I can just so we can have a go-in conversation.
Absolutely.
So we'll just start out. You just giving us your 120-second story.
Yeah.
Give us some highlights.
Okay. Well, my name is Jessica Thionnett, and I am born and raised here in Oklahoma. Lived in Oklahoma City my entire life. I'm married. I have 2 children. I have an 18-year-old and a 20-year-old, a son and a daughter, one in college, one getting ready to graduate high school. I'm self-employed, and I've kind of scratched and clawed my way through business ownership and working for someone else and seeing what that looks like over the past, really 25 years of my life. I've been married for 23 years. My husband's self-employed. We're a big believer in working hard and not everything is handed to you on a silver platter. And so we have high expectations for our children and for, all of that. And we just love serving and doing and being a part of this amazing community in Oklahoma City. Yeah.
That is cool. Now, I don't know if I knew that your husband was self-employed.
Yes.
In the same work as you?
No. So David is a landscape contractor. So he builds pools, outdoor kitchens, living areas, landscape design. Landscape architect, that sort of thing. Yes.
And how long has he been
forever?
Doing that?
That's all he's ever done.
Okay.
So that's what he went to school to learn how to do, and that's what he's done. And funny story behind that, he was working for someone when we first got married. and doing the same thing. And he came home one day and he said, "Hey, I just want to tell you I quit my job." And I said, "You did what?" I mean, you got to understand, we had just graduated college. We had zero money whatsoever to our name, and we'd been married about 3 months. And he came home and he said, "Yeah, I quit my job. I'm going to start my own thing." And I was like, "Oh my goodness, how are we going to, we could barely afford to do what we were doing." He said, I got this. Just trust me. Just let's just go with it. And we've never looked back. I mean, he literally made a decision and took a risk. And it's been awesome. It's fun to be self-employed, that's for sure.
Now, at that time, because I heard you say that you've worked for somebody, and
yes,
you've done both.
Right?
Were you working for somebody at that time?
I was, and I'll tell you, I'll be really honest with you. One of the reasons that I do what I do today, and that I love serving and helping other people, is because I had the privilege of working for probably one of the wealthiest women in Oklahoma, and I started working for her pretty much right out of college, maybe 2 years out of college. And what I saw her have the ability to do with people in her community was very inspiring for me. Yeah. And I knew that someday I wanted to be able to not only have the extra to do what she was able to do, but to give back in a huge way. And so I would sit and watch people periodically come into her office to meet with her who had needs. And it's very inspiring to be able to watch somebody, pull out their checkbook behind their desk and write a check to someone for whatever reason. Yeah. And she was an extremely hard worker. And I worked for her for 9 years and learned a work ethic, honestly, that is made me who I am today.
Wow. So what did you do for her?
I was actually a marketing director. She had an interior design firm, and she hired me. I was green behind the ears, not knowing really what I was going to do and what that was going to look like. We started the business out of her garage and grew the business in a huge way. And
so you started out with her?
You started out with her.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
Yeah,
so
she already had money. She already had her wealth.
Okay.
And but this was something that she wanted to do on her own, out from underneath the me and my husband are successful. I want to have my own successful thing. Yep. And so watching her in her life and do that, and then her asking me to be a part of something that she was doing was very empowering, right? So I was kind of like low man on the totem pole, but just kind of rolled up my sleeves, and I really taught it, really tried to run that business as if it were my own. Yeah. Okay. So when the time came, when my husband and I got married and started having children, I realized really quickly that I wanted more freedom and flexibility in my life, what that was going to be able to provide for me. And so with hesitation, it took me about 4 weeks to turn in my resignation. But because I am a loyal person, and she had provided me with an incredible lifestyle and incredible business. I was secure, great benefits, all of that type of stuff. But something else had been presented to me in my life that I wanted to be a part of. And so I started growing that, which is my Arbonne business. Okay. I had worked my Arbonne business alongside my corporate job. I traveled a lot. I traveled internationally a lot. And I just wasn't able to be everything I wanted to be, to my kids and my spouse, while being a full-time corporate employee. Yeah. So, and that's hard, and there's nothing wrong with that. I grew up with a working mom. It really kind of shaped me who I am today, but I was at a point where I was wanting something more out of life, right? Yeah. I was wanting something that I could get up in the middle of the day, go to attend something at my children's school if I wanted to, instead of having to take time off of work to do that. And I had never known really anything about Arbonne. I hadn't even tried the products or anything like that. So when I was presented with the opportunity, I was a little bit like, no, thank you. I'm educated. I already have a great job, that sort of thing. And then I was introduced to some amazing women, and I thought, oh my gosh, they have way more credibility, way more education than I do. And they're not hung up on this stereotype of, this is just, some little side network marketing thing. And so I quickly jumped in and have had the privilege and the honor, honestly, of building a business over the last 14 years, almost 15 years. And it's hard to leave security.
Yeah.
To do something that is different. It's just a different path.
Sure.
But I've never looked back, and I love it. And I wanted to be able to do, what that woman in particular was able to do. And there's a lot of power in building not only just community where you work, but then outside of that. And I was able to see what she did for her own community, and I just wanted a piece of that. Of that giving, right? Because you benefit way more from giving than you do from getting.
Now, watching her, I know you said kind of the inspiration of seeing how she was being able to give back. What were some things that you saw her do as a businesswoman that you were able to take away from that and apply it to your own?
Yeah. So one of the first things was, our office opened at 8 a.m., but at 7:30 or 7:15, I was taking my kids to where they needed to be, right? Whether it was daycare, whether it was Mother's Day out, the babysitter, or going to get breakfast or whatever. And guess whose car was there hours before everybody else's car? Her car, right? So one of the things that I learned early on, and I'm talking, at 26, 27 years old, was you have to show up. You got to show up, and she was always there first, and she was the last one to leave. And, when everybody else was wanting to get out and run out the door at 5 o'clock or whatever, if we were on a business trip or if we were, out of state or even out of the country, she was always thinking about what was going to be the next best thing for us. She was always looking ahead. Yeah. Her vision was ahead. Her vision wasn't what was on the current task at hand, because that had already been handled, right? That was already in front of us, but thinking about what that was going to look like. And, one of the main things she taught me, I will say, is how to multitask, and how to have my hands in more than one thing at one time. Yeah. And I think that is a prerequisite of success. It's got to be a characteristic of success, because if you are tunnel vision, and you can only think about one task in front of you, when something heads your way that you're not, ready for, you're not going to be able to handle it. So I saw her, get there early. I saw her leave late. And from a business ownership standpoint too, she was willing to take risks. She was willing to spend money on things that we didn't know if it was going to work or not. And that's a big thing, right? Yeah. That's not being calculated. It's being willing to I don't know, not predict what you have coming in. Sometimes you just got to just throw it all up in the air, right?
Because you really never know.
You don't know what that balance sheet looks like until you just throw it all out there. I mean, and sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't. And, sometimes we made money and we made great profit, and sometimes we lost money. And I watched her, navigate through that for a lot of years. But she always came out on top. Yeah. Always.
That's the thing about entrepreneurs. They figure that stuff out. Right. Because... And I guess that's part of the reason people don't want to leave their secure jobs, is because that's not something for everyone. Right. And so to hear you say that, every entrepreneur that I know, my father, or, they're like that. Like, they can have nothing. The next thing, they figure it out. Right. How to payroll and all that.
Yeah. Have you ever thrown a cat in the air?
Yeah.
They always land on their feet, right? Somehow a cat always lands on its feet.
For sure.
So, that's a little bit what entrepreneurship is like, for sure.
That's really good. And so now I hear you talk about her getting there early. I don't know if you ever were able to look in on her morning routine, but do you have routines in your life to allow for you to achieve the success that you want?
Sure. I think everybody has to. I think you go through phases where you try different things. So for a while, a few years ago, I tried to be a part of the 5 a.m. club.
Okay, yeah. You read the book?
Yeah, I read the book, and I was like, I'm all in. I'm going to try to be a part of this 5 a.m. club, and I'm going to be honest with you, that is not my club.
Yeah, that's not your club.
That's not my club. I am more of a 11 p.m. Club. Okay. Some of my best work, my best ideas, my best inspiration comes from, and I think this is just probably from being a mom. You're up in the morning, you're taking care of everybody else, right? But sometimes my best work is done after it's still and quiet and everybody's in bed. But I will say one thing I have always done, I've always tried to do, and always have tried to hold myself to the standard is, first of all, spending time with the Lord in the morning, whether it's a current Bible study that I'm doing, or whether it's something that I'm reading or writing or something. I have a couple of friends that we really try to hold each other accountable in that area. Yeah. But from a routine standpoint, it's get up, make my bed. I'm a big believer of making my bed first thing in the morning. I know it sounds stupid and it sounds simple, and it drives my husband crazy because he says, we just got to take all these stupid pillows off tonight. Why are we making this bed? But there is something powerful in making your bed before you leave the house to go start your day. And something I encourage leaders in my business to do as well. And it seems ridiculous, but isn't it nice when you go to a nice hotel and you come into the hotel and you set your stuff down and you turn back a fancy bed, right? Yeah. I'm not saying you have to have a fancy bed, but it feels great to turn those sheets back at night instead of getting into the old nasty sheets that you crawled out of in the morning, right? So I just try to do some simple things like that. Whether it's 6 o'clock in the morning or 8 o'clock in the morning. And that's a beautiful thing about being in business for yourself, is that my alarm clock is not set. Yeah. Unless I have to actually be somewhere at a certain time, I truly don't set an alarm clock anymore. And that is something that I never thought possible for my life. Mm-hmm. I never in a million years thought that I would have that ability to do that. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So, it's different. It's different every day, but a couple non-negotiables I would say on a mostly consistent basis is, spending time, whether you're, like I said, in a devotion or something, and then making my bed, and then hitting the gym. Those three things. I'm a gym girl. Okay. In the mornings. So I haven't always been. Okay. That's another part of, my story and my process of kind of figuring out how to live my best life, is taking care of myself. Mm-hmm. And I think sometimes women can use the excuse of busyness to not take care of themselves. And I think that has to be a priority.
What has helped you ground yourself in that?
How do I ground myself in
like
that?
If that wasn't a part of your life, now it is.
Right.
What was it that triggered that? I need to do this. Yeah. Did you set some accountability in place? What was it?
So what happened for me is about 3 years ago, we were coming home from vacation. And to be totally transparent with you, I was in the front seat of my husband's truck. We had been in Colorado for a few weeks, and I was trying to find like the perfect Facebook post, right? Mm-hmm, to post a picture of our great family, the highlight reel, right? That we all live. Yeah. And so here I am wanting to make my highlight reel look fabulous. And I just started crying in the front seat. I said, David, oh my gosh. He's like, what's the matter with you? I said, I don't look good in any of these pictures. And he's kind of looking at me, kind of half cockeyed, like, you run a very successful health and wellness company, and you're crying in your drink about you can't find a picture that you like because you don't feel like you look good. Uh-huh. And the reality of it is from a physical standpoint, I had just kind of let myself go. I had buried myself in work and into my, really not even so much as into my work, but into my kids. And just really kind of, I kind of became I hope nobody in the back seat finishes their Chick-fil-A nuggets when they get out of the car for practice so I can have the rest of them kind of mom. And health is really important. It's important not only from a survival standpoint, but it's also important for your marriage. Mm-hmm. I think the way that you look for your spouse is important. I think the way that you show up, God has given us an incredible temple for us to take care of, right? Yeah. And I think we sometimes just use excuse making to not be the best version of ourselves. Yeah. And I just thought, I'm 48 years old. I thought, I don't want to live the rest of my life not being the best that I can be. Mm-hmm. So I started an incredible nutrition program from Arbonne, which is our 30 Days to Healthy Living. And I had success on it, and it's just something that's a non-negotiable in my life now. So
that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. So when you went from working for someone to doing your own thing, what was that transition like, and what were some things that helped you make that transition?
Sure. So a funny story is, I had to dress so professionally for work, right? And so one of the very first things that I did when I left my job, because this was in style at the time, because we did not have like Lululemon or anything like that, I will never forget this moment. I went out and I bought a Juicy Couture velour tracksuit. Okay. So if you're a girl, you're going to know what this means. But I all of a sudden it was like, I have all this time freedom. I don't know what I'm going to do with my time. I mean, what am I going to do with my time? Because it was like I had the time freedom, but I really needed to be really focused on my business. And how am I going to make this transition? And I'll tell you a couple of things. Number one, there is nothing like dropping your kids off at school and looking at your calendar and saying, how can I make this day great? Right. Yeah. And not living your life on somebody else's terms. Yeah. And I will tell you, there is nothing wrong with working for somebody else. I think it's vital. I think it's super important. And when you run a successful business and you pour into your employees and you speak life over your employees and you have great relationships with your employees, that can be a very well-run thing, right? Mm-hmm. But there's a whole nother side of it that you can put a lot of emphasis in work that you should be pouring into your family and into your relationships and that sort of thing. So I think the hardest transition for me was my friend Valerie Edwards says, you have to eat the frog first, right? Eat the head of the frog first in the morning. Like if you looked at your to-do list on a daily basis, like you want to do the fun stuff first, right? Yeah. The fluff. Like, okay, I'm meeting with someone, I'm going to run to Starbucks and we're going to meet. And that's probably not the most important thing to start your day with. It's probably a phone call that you're dreading to make, right? Or if you're fundraising, you're asking for money, or if you're, just doing the hard things, sitting down, paying bills, whatever that looks like. So I learned really quickly early on in my transition from corporate America to business ownership to just really bite the head of the frog off first and to do the hard things first, because then the rest of the day is downhill. If you put off the stuff that you don't want to do until the very end of the day, your chances are it's going to go on tomorrow's to-do list. It's not going to be done. Right? So you just got to knock it out. It's like ripping off the Band-Aid and getting the hard stuff done. And I'd say that was a huge learning curve for me in the first couple of years of my business, because my biggest downfall is being a procrastinator. I am man, if you give me a deadline, I am all on it. But if I know that I have a month to complete something, then it's like, I'm going to wait until day 28 to get started. That's just my personality. And it's like a cat. For some reason, I always landed on my feet. But I think that was a hard transition in the beginning, was really prioritizing my day and what that looks like. And are you really making the most of your mornings? I think morning is a super important part, whether you are in business for yourself or for somebody else. I think your most productive time of the day is definitely in the morning. For sure. Yeah.
For sure. That's good. What was the first thing you ever sold? Because Arbonne, entrepreneurship, did you see this as a young child? You being an entrepreneur, were you somebody who sold lemonade at lemonade stands? Like, what was the first thing you ever sold? Was Arbonne the first thing?
No. Let's see here. I had to. When I was in college, I waited tables all the way through college. Okay. So, I think the first thing that I ever sold is I had to sell someone like on the special of the day, right?
Oh, yes, yes.
And if you've ever, most restaurant owners, special of the day is usually for a variety of reasons. It's we're trying to get rid of something, or we're trying to, I don't know, we're just trying to do a little something different. But, we had to upsell everything we did. And I will tell you, if you are young and you want to make great money and work hard and learn how to multitask, wait tables. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. In fact, I worked for just 2 different restaurants for a total of almost 5 years while I was in college. And I think that was interesting. That was probably the first thing that I learned how to sell.
So in that, because that's really good, learning to sell the special of the day.
Right.
Did you figure out at some point how to make that sell easier for you to be successful at selling the specials of the day?
So
Was there anything that you learned in that?
I will tell you this. So if you've ever noticed when you go in to sit down at a restaurant, people are sitting down, they're getting their menus or whatever, and they're looking, and they're really not paying attention to you. Like, it's the most awkward silence when the waiter comes over to tell you what the special of the day is. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes, I do.
I don't want to make eye contact with you,
and
I know you don't want to make eye contact with me. So the best thing to do is just have your menu in front of you, and that's the best time to tell the special of the day, because they don't really care.
Yeah.
They're not really they're not paying attention to you whatsoever, right? And so it's more about, okay, so I'm going to run through the specials, and here's a special of the day, and this is what this looks like. What can I get you guys to drink? Well, the minute that you can get it off your tongue, they're so past what you just said that they're already wanting to give you what their drink order is, right?
Yeah.
So it's just getting the hard thing done first.
Yeah.
And but I will tell you, I loved interacting with people at a table. I met some of the most amazing people. You know, I worked at the Bricktown Brewery for 3 years out of college. I lived in Norman. I was going to OU, and I would drive. I first started working waiting tables at Interurban in Norman, and I loved the owners of Interurban. And anyway, the next biggest thing, the new awesome thing, was the Bricktown Brewery. That's back when we first had the hockey team and all that kind of stuff. So early 90s.
In Bricktown.
No, there was Bricktown Brewery, there was Spaghetti Warehouse, and Abuelos. Yeah, and so but I loved it. And one of the things I'll never forget is I worked there, during the Murrah building bombing. And the brewery housed, during those days and weeks of all of that, when that took place, kind of a site for the news media to come in. And I met some incredible anchors and journalists that I had the privilege of getting to know over the course of several weeks, because I wanted to work during that time. The brewery they were so gracious, and they just opened up the doors, for people, and we fed people, off the streets and that sort of thing. And I'll never forget my manager at the time. His name was Jim Cowan, and he said to me, he said, is everything okay in your section tonight? You're kind of spending a lot of time. And I said, Jim, do you know who this man is? And so I started to tell him who this guy was, and he'd been a long time journalist for CBS. And we just developed this relationship and this friendship, and he kept coming back, and he came and ate every night. And those are experiences that you would never be able to do unless you waited tables, right? And opened your mouth. Yeah. And so even though it was hard, I made great money. It was fun, made great lifelong friends, and you just get to meet people that you would never normally get to meet.
So in that, what I also hear, and I don't know if you would say this is true or not, but you learning how to build relationships through waiting tables, lifelong friends, and now you end up working for someone, but then you come back out of this, and now you're working for yourself.
Right.
And one of the things that I enjoy most about network marketing and Arbonne is the ability to grow community.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. And so do you see some of those things now that I'm asking this question that kind of go back to how you build in relationships now and growing this community?
Absolutely. And that's what my Arbonne business is. It's a community of like-minded people, right? So we all have a desire to do something different. Obviously, first and foremost, we want to earn an income, right? But it's deeper than that. It's more than that. And the reason being is because we all want to belong somewhere. And so if you're not getting that from, which I hope you are, I hope everybody is, if you're not getting that fellowship and relationship, in your church, then, how do you build community outside of that? And I think it's important as human beings, especially in today's society, for us to have different circles of community, right? So it's community within people that I would call like you've got your center layer, right? And then those are like your go-to. Like something bad happens, you got a flat tire on the side of the road, who are you going to call, right? And then it gets a little bit wider from that. And one of the things that I do in my business, and I was taught this early on from my mentor, Cecilia Stoll, one of the things that I have learned to do is just to pour into others selflessly. Be a listening ear. there's a reason that God gave you, 2 ears
Yeah.
and one mouth, right? And so I think when you're a listener and you are listening and you can hear the needs of others, it gives you a greater insight into, what they're after in their life. And so one of the ways that we build community in Arbonne is obviously by having, things in our homes, welcoming our teams into our homes. 2 or 3 times a month, I have complete strangers come into my home, and I teach them about 30 Days to Healthy Living, or I teach them about great skincare, or I teach them about, Arbonne as a business opportunity for them. And some of my closest friends in my life have come through relationships where I was introduced to somebody that was not originally like in my circle, right? Uh-huh. So community is huge. And thanks to technology now, you can have incredible community with women and men all over the world through video chats, Zoom, Skype, whatever it is, FaceTime. I mean, there's a wealth of opportunity to build community with people that you've never met face to face, right? And that's what we do. Yeah. I want it to be a place where people can thrive, a place where people can grow, and they know, because I'll tell you this, people in life quit things all the time, right? Mm-hmm. People quit their own lives. People quit relationships. People quit jobs. But one thing that people don't quit is that people don't quit friendships, right? That's, I think, the last thing to quit is a friendship. And when you make a friendship with someone and you build that community and you pour into others, and you invest into others, it builds this beautiful thing. Yeah. And I think I look at you and I think about what you do right here in Guthrie, and I'm like, you are a prime example of doing that. And it requires getting out of your comfort zone. Yeah. It requires sometimes, I call it the wedding smile. Yeah. You don't feel like it today, but I'm out talking to people and my teeth are white and I'm smiling and, it always comes back in a good way, for you. And it's important. It's amazing what happens when you just care. Yeah.
So I talk about what are the right things to be consistent in to build great communities. One of the things that I love doing is celebrating people. Mm-hmm. And I get that feel from you. What are some ways that you go about celebrating those people in your community?
Yeah. So we, in my Arbonne community, one of the things we do, our past president of Arbonne years ago, Rita Davenport, she used to say that people work harder for praises than they do for raises. Mm-hmm. And it's amazing what happens when you just share, like you call it sharing a win. You just share a win with someone we give once a month, we have an awesome meeting, and it's a 1 hour of a little bit of training about business, a little bit of inspiration. But one of my favorite things that we do is we recognize people for the previous month's achievements, right? And so we give a fake flower. We used to give real flowers, but now we give a fake flower, and that way people can take them home. They'll never die. They put them in a vase, and the saying is in Arbonne is that once your vase of fake flowers is full, that's about the time that you'll earn your company car and your business is just exploding and that sort of thing. Yeah. So each month we recognize people for their achievements, and it is so simple to recognize someone with a $1.50 fake flower that makes their day. I don't know about you, but in my past jobs, I poured my heart and soul into, working for somebody else. And I mean, to be honest with you, sometimes I got a turkey, and I'm like, what? You're giving me a gift certificate for a turkey? I'm like, are you kidding me? Great. But, and you know what would have meant more to me was a handwritten card. Man, you are awesome. Thank you for pouring into us. Yeah. Thank you for believing in my vision, right? Mm-hmm. Because when you own something, it's not your employee's vision, it's your vision, right? But your job as an employee is to get everybody on board so that you create this, it's my vision kind of thing. But at the end of the day, if you're not, profit sharing with your company, then it really is just one person's vision, right? Yeah. So it's a simple thing. It's a simple handwritten note. It's a simple, for instance, for Valentine's Day, I sent the leaders in my business a bubble mailer full of candy and a couple little, things in a handwritten card. Yeah. I think words are important, and especially words that are written down, words that are not, it can be in the form of a text. That's awesome too. But public recognition is a powerful thing, and that's one of the things we do in our bond. Is you will see, if you follow me on any social media, you will see me recognizing the leaders in my team, on my team, for doing great things. So
yeah, we call it giving cake.
I love that.
And so in my house, we would have our huddle, our family huddle, and at the end of every family huddle, I would say, "Who wants to give cake?"
I love
and then
that.
Somebody says, "I want to give cake," and then we all start going, "Cake, cake, cake, cake." We all go crazy, and then we get silent. And that person says, "I want to give cake to Jessica for whatever it may be, picking up my shoes when I left them in the living room."
Right.
And so now our teams at church, we all give cake Monday morning for all staffs. And
that's
and
powerful.
So everywhere I go and go speak and stuff, I'm always trying to teach people to give cake. Because I say I want to have 1 million people giving cake around the world.
I love that.
And so
that's awesome.
But I believe that building community, that helps people connect with you.
Sure.
And it shows that I value what you do and trying to do it in the simplest ways. And so
Sure.
So what other things have you learned over time to help build community?
Well, so for instance, and I don't know if you know this about me or not, what happened with our family in 2011. We lived in Piedmont at the time, and May 24th, 2011, we lost everything that we owned in an F5 tornado.
No, I didn't know that.
So in a matter of 45 seconds, David and Ben and Grace and I are in our next door neighbor's cellar. And this was 2 days before the big Joplin tornado. Okay, if you kind of remember that years ago.
Yeah, uh-huh.
So we lived on some land. My daughter is an equestrian, showed horses, that sort of thing. So we jumped into a cellar like you do in Oklahoma. And I've lived in Oklahoma my entire life, though, and have never seen a tornado up close. And this was the big daddy. This was the mother of all tornadoes. And the National Weather Service came out afterwards and did a survey over our property, and it was one of the highest wind speeds ever recorded on Earth. If they could categorize it as a 6, they would have, but they don't have that capability to do that. But so we lost everything. So when we came out of our neighbor's cellar, I looked across over to our property, and my husband had opened up the cellar door. We were in there with our neighbor, and I just looked at David. I said, "Shoot me straight." I said, "Tell me." And in my mind, Hetty, just our roof was gone, right?
Yeah.
Like in my mind, it was like, oh, we've got some tree damage, and our roof was gone and that sort of thing. But it was much more powerful than that. Our home, my husband's shop, our horse barn, all our vehicles. Everything was gone. It was just scraped off of the foundation. And we had built that home in 2001. In about the blink of a second, your life just kind of flashes before your eyes. And I remember vividly coming out of the cellar, and I remember thinking, you've got 2 options here, Jess. You can either completely wig out, or you've got 2 sets of eyeballs watching you to see how you're going to respond to this. And with the massive lump in my throat, I walked up the steps of the cellar, and I looked across at our property, and it was just really unrecognizable. And it was still hailing. And both of my kids came up out of the cellar, and I just looked at them with the biggest, fakest smile.
The biggest wedding smile?
Fakest smile. And I said, "Hey guys, it's not good." They were in 3rd grade and 5th grade at the time. And I said, "This is not good, but here's the deal. We're going to get through this." And I leaned down. I helped them walk up out of the cellar. And we began a journey over the next several months of realizing, first of all, what it's like to be homeless. Okay. Second of all, what it's like to lose everything that you own, down to the only clothes that any of us had were the clothes that we had on that day. By the time it was said and done, everything that was salvageable fit into a 10 by 10 storage unit. And we began to rebuild our lives. So my point in sharing this story with you is that within a matter of minutes, I watched a community come together that absolutely lifted us up and got us through the darkest days of our lives. Within probably 15 to 20 minutes, there were over 100 people on our property helping us, search or, find or do whatever it was that we needed to do. It looked like a war zone, propane tanks on fire. It was mass chaos. And so that day around us, one of the things that we learned at the end of that day, that night, was that there were 4 lives that were lost right around us, neighbors right around us. And I don't know if you remember the story or not, but family a mile from us had her children in the bathtub with her, and 2 of her boys flew out of her hands and were killed in the tornado. And so knowing that is what got me through those yucky days, because I still had my family intact, right? But it's amazing what happens when you look up and you see your community and your church and your best friends and people that you don't even know, strangers, all come together to help you in a really yucky situation. So we were insured, we were underinsured, but we were insured. And it's just amazing how it all played out. Is actually the best thing that ever happened to us as a family. And
bring y'all closer, and
it brought us closer. We saw just a life change within each one of us. My husband and I realizing how important your family is, and that stuff doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
So when you're in the line of work that my husband and I are both in, from an interior design standpoint, and from what he does, it's all about the stuff, right?
Yeah.
The nice house, the nice interiors, all this kind of stuff, and then all of a sudden it's gone, and you realize, what, this is just fluff. So community in that aspect really, really changed us as a family, and that's one of the reasons that I've always just wanted to be able to pour back into mine. So, yeah.
That's wow.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That, because in that, I hear community is about being willing to come alongside one another.
Right.
When things get crazy and rough.
Right.
And utilizing your resources to help people get on their feet and
exactly,
and make sure that they're in a good place.
Right. I don't know. Have you ever had to go to a church and get toothpaste and toothbrushes and things like that? Just basic supplies that you need. When you're the ones that the most ironic part of the story, and it's not ironic, and I don't even like to use that word, was that when the Joplin tornado hit, that was on a Sunday. And Monday morning, David and I were we were starting our day, and we were watching the Today Show. And a thing came across the bottom of the screen about get donated to the Red Cross for the people who were victims of the Joplin tornado. And in all the years of our marriage, we had never, ever donated to the Red Cross. I'm talking not for the tsunami, not for Katrina or anything like that. And we just had the tug that morning. I know it was the Holy Spirit, but we just had the tug, like, you guys need to send some money to Joplin. So we did. And then 48 hours later, the Red Cross was in my driveway, giving us sandwiches, an ice chest, a shovel, a rake, trash bags. And that is a prime example of you're going to get back tenfold what you give, right?
Yeah. Yeah, because at that moment, that was everything to you.
Everything.
Yeah.
Right?
Them coming alongside you and helping you
Absolutely.
in that moment. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So in that, and kind of, that's another transition for you.
Right.
Yeah, in your life. And so what were some other things outside of people coming alongside you? What would be some tips for somebody out there who may be going through something like that?
Yeah, I mean,
and sometimes it's not about a tornado coming through you. Just life happens.
Well, I'm telling
and
you,
it hits you.
One of the things I teach my team and my business is to prepare for impact, right? Impact is can come in a lot of different forms. For us, it was an F5 tornado. For some families, it might be a sickness or cancer or a death.
Yeah.
It could be a job loss, whatever it is. But I would say, the number one thing is that you have to look deep within, and you have to realize that you have the ability to deal with it. Like God created you for greatness. He did not create us so that we could just so things, right? And so you already have within you what you need to get through whatever it is you're going through.
Yeah.
It already resides right here.
Yeah.
But sometimes you have to I call it Rocky Balboa, that moment, and you just have to just run up those steps and, fist pump your arms
Yeah.
and go, I don't know what this looks like. I've never been through this. This sucks, but we're going to figure it out. I'm going to figure it out. And whether you're, the head of your household or whether you are young, it doesn't matter what your age, what your socioeconomic background is. It doesn't matter. There is enough wherewithal in you, no matter who you are and no matter what you're going through, to get it done. You have to decide. And something that I've learned in business is that a decided heart always wins.
Yeah.
An all-in heart, and that is true for anything. And so if you're experiencing loss or financial hardship or whatever it is, everything is figure outable. Everything. I just read this book. Everything is figure outable. And it's true. You just have to decide. You have to look within sometimes. And you just have to go, I'm going to figure this out. Yeah. Nobody's doing this for me, right? No one's going to do my push-ups for me.
Yeah. Yeah. You got to figure it out.
Right.
That's good.
Right.
Now, I heard you talk about marketing sales. I think that's the job with the lady. Now, did you go to school for marketing?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how has that degree or those skills that you learned, how have they helped you with your Arbonne business? Like, what are some right things to be consistent in when it comes to marketing?
Oh gosh, I think the ability to just you have to be a product of your product, whatever it is. If you have to believe in whatever it is that you're trying to get people to get on board with, right? And I think that that's one of the biggest things is belief in what you're selling, belief in what you are trying to accomplish. And I think for me immediately, selling an anti-aging skincare and a health and wellness product was a no-brainer. Who doesn't want to look younger? Who doesn't want to feel better? Be more fit, that sort of thing. But I'll be honest with you, it was something that I knew nothing about when I first got started.
Yeah.
I tease people, but there's a lot of truth to this. Like I didn't even wash my face at night before I started my business. So I didn't know a lot about, great skincare and that sort of thing, but I knew that I had a willingness to try because my current situation was not working for me. And so I think from a marketing standpoint, I think it's just super important to get people excited and on board to see your vision and to see what it is that you're after. And I'll tell you something I tell people when they get started in their businesses all the time is that Arbonne doesn't, whatever it is, like it doesn't have to be your passion, but it can be for you what fuels your passion, right? So for instance, it's like, who's really excited about, selling windshield wiper blades, right? I mean, it's not something that really gets me fired up, right? But if you can really sell someone on the benefits of what a windshield wiper blade can do for you, then, maybe they'll start to realize why yours are the best, right? In the industry. Yeah. But you exude that. And marketing is very transparent. Right off the bat, if someone is really into what they're doing, right? And, so I think it's important that you just kind of wear that cape of whatever it is that you do. And I think you do an outstanding job of that. I mean, you sell Guthrie America to me every day of the week and I love it, And so I just think you have to really, I think you have to love what it is that you're doing.
Yeah. One of the things when I go speak, I talk about engagement. And one of the things I say that is required to have great engagement is enthusiasm.
Right.
Because I tell people all the time, like nobody ever says, I want to go hang out with a negative or boring person.
Right.
Nobody says that.
Right.
But when you have enthusiasm,
right,
like people are drawn
That's exactly
to you,
right.
And I think what you're saying is when you have that enthusiasm about whatever product that is that you're selling, it automatically begins to draw people. Like, people see my enthusiasm for Guthrie America, like, man, I'm gonna go to Guthrie and go have coffee with Hetty, or I'm gonna go hang out, or come have a date.
I want to be
night.
where you are. I want to be what you're doing. I don't know what you're doing, but I want to be a part of it. I can't tell you how many times I have sponsored somebody into my business. They're like, I don't know anything about this, but man, I mean, you look like you're loving your life and having a great time. And if you're doing that, I want to do it. And to be honest with you, it's one of the very reasons that I started my business. The girl who introduced me to Arbonne, who is become a dear friend, and I absolutely changed my life by offering me the gift of Arbonne. She was somebody that I knew from a business standpoint, and we would see each other periodically from time to time. And Christy is her name. And when I was around Christy, she was always one of those people I wanted to be. Her personality was contagious. I wanted more of her. It was like, oh my gosh, don't leave. Let's go eat lunch, or let's go do this, or let's go do that. That's what draws people into you.
Yeah.
You know, if you are a negative sourpuss kind of person, you're not going to attract any business.
No.
You're not going to attract any followers. Yeah. Anybody who wants to engage in anything that you have anything to do with, right?
Yeah. For sure. Yeah, unless it's something that I need, like like my doctor, no.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
Like he come in and whatever kind of, I'm like,
I know.
Fix me.
Just help me feel better.
Yeah,
right.
But for the most part, we're typically not like people don't have to come together.
Right.
Or people don't have to buy a go-in t-shirt.
Right.
People don't have to do that. But when they see something that's like, oh man, there's something inspirational about that. There's something that I want to be a part of.
Right.
That's
I think a lot of times people are so worried about what other people are going to think about them, right? Mm-hmm. When you start something new, oh my gosh, well, what are people going to think about me? Well, I don't know. I mean, I heard so-and-so, she tried that or he tried that, and that didn't work out for them so much and whatever. And one of the things I've always heard in business is listen to the people who are more successful than you. Listen to the people who have made it, right? Mm-hmm. And watch that. I have people tell me all the time, oh, of course you're successful in what you do, Jessica, because you could sell ice cream to an Eskimo. And I'm like, no, that's not what it's about. Yeah. You sell your children every day to get up out of bed, right? Mm-hmm. That's a sales technique. Mm-hmm. You better get your fanny out of bed or you're going to be late. And then you're going to have to take that final, right? That's our big thing in our household right now. Don't be late for school because you don't have to take that final, but you sell your children on how to brush their teeth every day, right? I mean, to eat vegetables, right? Uh-huh. We do things unconsciously that we're always in sales mode if you think about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. Now you talked about people. Who are some right types of people that you find that you need to be around in order for you to thrive?
Yeah, so I would say, they say that you're the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with, right? Sure. And so people that do it for me, that really challenge me and push me to grow. First and foremost, I have, a couple of great friends that, one of my best friends is in another type of business that I'm in, and we're not competitors. I love that she's doing this. It's like we have a great time helping each other, giving each other ideas in each other's business and that sort of thing. And one of the common denominators there, first of all, of that friendship is the Lord, but second of all is that there's no I don't want to be in competition with anybody, and I don't want to be in relationships where I'm envious or jealous, right? Of somebody else's success. Yeah. Okay. And so I think you have to check your spirit. I think you have to check yourself. Like, I want to hang around this person. I want to be around this person. But if there's any part of me that has any envy or anything like that, man, there's no place for that. Yeah. Right. So, I think you have to, I want to be around people who call me out.
Yeah. Okay.
When I'm not walking the walk, right? Uh-huh. Or talking the talk. I want to be around people who are transparent, people who are vulnerable.
Yeah.
I want to be coachable. And so in return, in my successful friendships, I want to be able to coach.
Yeah.
Right?
And you want them to be able to coach you.
100%. Yeah. 100%. And I think that is one of the hardest things, especially with women, that we look at and we say, don't you tell me what to do, right? Like, are you kidding? You're not going to get up in my business just because, and because we know too much about the other person, right? But when it's from a place of love and you know that they want the very best for you, then it makes it so much easier. And I want to be around like-minded people. I don't want to be around people that are any bit negative at all. I will drop you like a fly if you are, I mean, I have so much tolerance for negativity or people that are always sick or always, everyone's, you know what I'm saying? You know, the friends that you have that are just like, oh my gosh, let me guess what's wrong with you this week, right?
Yeah.
It's just, we don't have, you just got to speak life.
Yeah.
Over yourself, over your life, over your family, and pour into the lives of others. And I want friendships that reciprocate that back to me,
good.
and business relationships as well.
That's good.
You got to have people in your life that do that.
So it's 2020. We know technology is a big thing. You had an iPhone when you came in today. Mm-hmm. What are some apps that you're using these days to help you get things done?
My gosh. Okay. My favorite app right now is Instacart. Do you know what Instacart?
No.
Okay. So 2 years ago, if you would have told me that I would be using this app, I would have said, you're crazy. There's no way.
Okay,
but now I use it several times a week. It's a grocery shopping app. So I get on Instacart, and at 2 or 3 different stores that I frequent, I can shop from my phone, and they deliver it for free with a tip to the person. Now, the free delivery is because I got the next level of service, which is like $9 a month, $9.99 a month for free grocery delivery. But you know what? You want to talk about taking, first of all, saving money, because here's why. I don't go to the grocery store and go up and down the aisles and think, oh, I need to try this or I need to try this. I'm on purpose with my list, which saves me money, right? So, and then I'm efficient with my time. So I can be on the stair climber at the gym and grocery shopping, and I can time it to where I know that I'm going to be there when they get home and my groceries are delivered. What? And that is a powerful thing. Instacart.
I have to check that out. My wife will love that.
Yes.
Because right now she's a big fan of the, grocery pickup.
Yeah. Grocery pickup.
In Guthrie, I don't know if we're going to have Instacart, but we'll see.
Well, you need to check it out. You need to check it out. But so they go to Sprouts for me. Sprouts, Target, Costco, Sam's, you name it.
So is this person driving around, going to each store and just picking up the items off the... That's pretty
It's
crazy.
wonderful.
Yeah,
it's actually an incredible service.
Yeah.
And it's, the groceries are not marked up. If the stuff's on sale at the store, that gets passed on to you. They're making a small service fee, and they're doing it. They're smart. They're doing it often enough that they're making money doing it, right? Yeah. And what I like about it too is that I use Sprouts a lot, for example, and a lot of times it's employees that are already working at Sprouts, and so they're just doing this in their off time to earn extra money. And so it's people that sometimes I even see when I'm in the grocery store that are familiar with the items there. They shave my deli turkey exactly how I want it shaved. It's incredible.
That is incredible.
It's awesome.
That's pretty crazy.
Instacart. Oh gosh. Okay. Another app that I like right now, which you're going to laugh, but I like Calm.
Okay.
Yeah,
meditation.
A little meditation app. I'm not a meditator, but I do use Calm sometimes. I think so much of our lives right now is spent screen time, right? So a lot of times now I'm using Calm. I turn Calm on in the car. I don't want to hear any music, and I don't want to talk on the phone. Yeah. I just want to be. And so I use it in the car, and I just chill in the car, right? I'm kind of new to it, but you can use it for all different types of things. It's kind of a good little app. I mean,
now, how do you manage your to-do list? Is that an app, or do you paper?
No, I'm a paper girl.
Okay.
I'm a paper calendar, and I'm a paper to-do list.
Really?
And that is so old school. I know it is, but I am a paper calendar person because I have to see that whole month in front of me. I cannot look at my iPhone and gauge what my week looks like.
Yeah.
I want to write it down. I just can't. Yeah. And so I keep a paper calendar in my car, and I mean, I've tried 10 different ones, and I finally figured out.
I wouldn't be able to do it.
I know.
I try to do both. I have for part of my morning routine, I have a paper calendar.
Okay.
And so that's just to kind of write out my day, but then I transfer it to my phone.
I like that.
I don't want to leave my planner somewhere.
I know.
I know. But I love people who can manage that. I just can't. Yeah. What's your favorite? I
have a funny story though. Hold on. I have a funny story about my paper planner. My friend Penny can attest to this, but after the tornado, I lost my day planner. And I mean, my life was just
planner, right?
everything's in that planner. I'm talking passwords. Everything in your life is in that planner. And my girlfriends give me such a hard time about it because I cried about that more than I cried about some really other valuable things. It was like how am I gonna because every year I would sit down and write and transfer all of that stuff over. And part of it for me is like the process of doing that. Like I love fresh starts, and so. But yeah, so if I would have had my iPhone, because my phone was with me, if I would have had it on my calendar, I wouldn't have been messed
or at least
up.
take pictures of them.
Oh yeah, exactly.
You could do that as well.
Right.
So what's your favorite purchase under $100?
Oh, my favorite purchase under $100. It can be anything.
It can be anything.
Oh man. Okay, I'm going to tell you. A girlfriend of mine. At Christmas, I bought this thing from Amazon. It's $49.99, and it is a back massager. Okay, I can't even believe I'm saying this. This is so bizarre, but it's this thing that comes up over your shoulders. And I was actually at her house doing Bible study, and she's like, "Look at this thing I ordered," because she tweaked her neck or something. She was like, "Look at this I ordered." So I sat in her chair and I did it. And Penny, when you're listening to this one day, you'll laugh. But so you put it over your back, and it just does this kneading and all this kind of stuff, and it's awesome. It's incredible. And so like our family fights over it now.
Oh, really?
So that was before Christmas. So literally I got one for everyone, like my parents,
Lord.
my in-laws, everybody got it, this back massager thing. And I don't even know what made me think of that, but that's been my favorite purchase under $100 recently.
Well, it definitely is your favorite if you bought everybody one. Whenever you start buying other people one.
Yeah, it's good, right?
Yeah. Because I was going to ask you, what is your... Well, I guess I would say, what is your most gifted book? Like, which book do you gift to others the most?
Gosh. I mean, I gift a lot of John Maxwell. Okay.
What's your favorite John Maxwell?
Oh, my gosh. Winning with People.
Give me some. Like most people, I'll say,
No.
I'm rereading it right now.
It's
I try
awesome.
to reread it every year.
Yeah, chapter 4.
Yeah. And I always tell people, they always say, what's your favorite? I was like, Winning with People. They're like, Winning with People. I'm like, John Maxwell. I feel like it's one of his least... read books by people.
And you know what? And I think you're right. I think it's probably one of the most least read, and it's probably one of the ones that can help the most people.
Yes.
Because it's not just business.
No.
I mean, one of the chapters talks about hurting people hurt people.
Yes. Yeah.
And so you can understand a lot about the way people operate if they've been hurt.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And how you can help in that, and how not to take things personally, right? And that it's not about us and to take our eyes off of us. And that is just a powerful, powerful book. I think it's amazing.
You're one of the first people. Not very many people drop Winning with People.
Oh, I love me some Winning with People. It's
cool.
good.
So talking about Scott Williams, did you see his post where he was with John Maxwell?
Oh yeah, he took a picture of him down in Florida. I was like, you dog.
He claimed John Maxwell gave him a shout out. Yeah, he claims. I'm like, let me see it on video.
Right. There's so many great books. There are so many amazing books. I will tell you, I am so grateful for my Amazon Prime membership because, it's just like, oh, someone's posted a book. Oh, I better order it.
You know that you can get books for free. So I try not to buy as many physical books because I just don't have space for them.
Right.
But Amazon, if you have Amazon Prime, you can get it's almost like a library.
Really?
Yeah, through their Kindle app.
The problem with that for me is that I highlight and I underline and I tear pages and because I go back to them. Like the books I read.
Pages? What do you mean? You rip pages?
I rip the corner of a page. From a little note or whatever, and you can't do that if it's rented.
That's true.
Because I think if it's a really great book, it's not just a one-time read; it's a resource for your life, right? And so that's a great book, though. That is a really good book.
This is marketing.
Yeah, that's a great book.
My Life to List is a local guy. His name's Derek Slyer. That's a good book.
Okay.
And he just talks about how our lives are made up of all these different lists.
Oh, I love that.
It's a really good book. Are you a Gary Vaynerchuk?
I have not read that. No.
Have you read any of Gary's?
No.
Yeah, so you probably want to start with the Thank You Economy.
Okay.
Where he just talks about being really thankful and making sure that you thank all of your customers.
I love that.
And he wrote that book around the time when Twitter was blowing up and all that, where he was just talking about really responding to people.
Right.
The Thank You Economy. But
right.
really good book. His mouth is oh man, he has a potty mouth. So.
Yeah. Well, there's so many great books out there, and I think a lot of times, people think, oh, you're reading all that self-help stuff, and you're just, oh, poor pitiful you, and man, you aren't you what you read? I mean, you really are.
Yeah.
And what what you look at and what your eyes see. And I think it's important. I always tell people, leaders are readers.
Yeah. This is true. And also so a big part of me doing a podcast too is just because I want to learn from people.
Yes.
And so I found this to be just as great as reading a book sometimes.
Absolutely.
Because it's people in the mix in doing it.
Right.
And this is great too. And so I always challenge people that I mentor. I was like, try to interview 20 people in a year.
That's
awesome.
awesome.
Sit down with 20 people and have the same questions that you ask them because everybody's going to answer them a little bit differently.
Yeah.
Which I think in that you find what best suits you.
Right.
Because I may not do it so before I had this podcast, James Hodge, who's an entrepreneur as well. Now, when I ask him questions, his answers are a little bit different from yours. But maybe I was like, oh, well, that answer I can gravitate more towards James. I can do that. But then you answered this one question. I'm like, no, I can do what Jess did.
Right.
It just
right. You take it away. Well,
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, they say that CEOs read an average of 60 books a year.
Yeah.
But something that I found really interesting over the Christmas break, my husband and I watched a documentary with Bill Gates and what he does with the sanitation in India. Okay, and the polio and all this kind of stuff, and developing what he's been developing for the past 6 or 8 years. But one of the things that I took away from watching that little Netflix series was that Bill Gates carries with him at all times I'm talking not a suitcase. It's an LL Bean satchel. So I don't know if you know what that is, but it's like a tote bag that doesn't have a zipper on it. Okay. It looks like something a woman would carry.
Okay.
It looks like something that would have a monogram, like a monogram would be on it.
Yes.
Okay. So in that book at all times, he's reading 5 or 6 different books. And it is his assistant's responsibility to make sure that when he gets on his plane, that whatever he's reading currently at the time goes with him. He leaves his house every morning with that same tote bag, takes it to his office, and he's constantly switching out those books. She said it literally does not leave his side because he is constantly reading. He's not a TV watcher. He reads, and he's just constantly reading.
Wow.
And one of the things his mom talks about from an early age is the fact that she could not get him to leave his bedroom to go do sports or to go do anything because he was constantly reading just stacks and stacks of books.
Yeah.
And I that's powerful, right?
Yeah. No, and if there's anybody that you want to learn from, it'd be Bill.
Exactly. Bill Gates.
Pretty sharp guy.
Right.
Yeah, every time I see an interview of him, there's always him and Warren Buffett too.
And they're good friends. They're good friends.
I feel like they're so practical.
Totally.
Yeah, they don't I think they're just good at what they do, and it just so happened they made a whole bunch of money doing it.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
But they just seem so. There's not much to them, but they're brilliant people.
They are.
They're very brilliant people.
Right.
So
right.
I sure appreciate you sitting down with me.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. This has been great.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
yes,
you bet.
Yes.
I have so much respect for you. I just, I love what you're doing. I loved watching your Senate race. I loved everything. You're a beacon of hope for your community, and I just think it's really cool, and I know that I've gotten to serve alongside you, on a board, and I just am grateful that our paths still connect, and it's awesome. And so
the wonderful world of social media,
that's right,
allows for these kind of things to happen. And
exactly.
So again, thank you, and continue to do the great work you do, building great community and helping people thrive in their lives, and to be able to do things that they're passionate and love to do. And so thank you for doing that.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, as always, thank you for hitting that play button. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, as always, go win.